Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
And what are we talking about today, Risha?
Well, I'm going to talk about two things, but they are both vampires. Again, as always, pronunciation
Oh, I'll have that too in my
is
episode.
not always our strong suit. And feel free to correct us, but please do it kindly.
Be nice.
So I'm going to talk about the Obayifo, or Obayifo. The Ashanti people on the Gold Coast in West Africa had this creature within their lore. The name is derived from the Ashanti word bai, which means sorcery. And this creature can shapeshift into a male or a female human, and they astral project at night.
What?
Fly with phosphorescent light coming off of its shoulders.
Huh.
Which I'm kind of like, what's the difference between phosphorescent and bioluminescence?
Well, all right, this could be wrong because I don't actually know anything about this. I would assume, so bioluminescence, bio meaning life.
Right.
Phospholuminescence, I assume, is like a phosphorus base, so maybe that's more of a chemical light versus living creatures. I do not know that for sure. That is me making an assumption.
I could go for that, though.
We can go for that? All right.
I like that.
All right.
I mean, again, we could check our sources, but
We won't.
We won't.
Let us know. That makes sense, and it could be a good answer, but it makes me think of the mountain chicken TikTok that you sent me, or Instagram that you sent me, where someone's like, what do you think a mountain chicken is? It's that! And it's a frog. So it could be that, where like the name does not help at all.
Right.
But anyway, phosphorescence.
Yes, a phosphorescent light comes off of its shoulders as
That's
it
fun.
astral projects through the night.
So like magic glowing cape vibes.
Yeah.
Here for that.
Yeah, pretty cool. It's a creature that blights crops, especially cacao crops, which you have like banana trees tend to grow around those too. So it probably kills banana trees. But it drinks blood. Vampire. It's not easy to identify except for shifty eyes and a compulsion to eat meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like some people I've dated.
Oh, dear.
We all know the protein bros.
Well, but this lore shifted into a story of the Loogaroo.
The Loogaroo.
The Loogaroo.
Oh, I like that.
Right? Isn't that fun? It's another witch vampire.
Okay.
And it's a woman who made a pact with the devil. So it's kind of like a warlock.
Yep,
warlocky
classic.
vibes. Because she offers warm blood from her victims and gets magical powers in return. At night, she goes to a jumbi or devil tree, which also, if you look it up too, not always devil. It's sometimes just a focal point of magic. So a very magical tree. And she removes her skin and flies into the night as a sulfurous ball.
Whoa, so now we have phosphorus and sulfur.
All right.
Whew, we hitting
the
that
chemicals.
chemistry.
So apparently closed doors and windows do not prevent her from getting in. But if you spread rice or sand across just any surface that you're trying to prevent it going across, they are compelled to pick up each grain or seed.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's something that you see in a lot of vampire lore is the compulsion to pick up the little tiny pieces, which I'm not entirely sure where that comes from.
Isn't there a trial? Oh gosh, it's the book you had me read by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, the Till We Have Faces?
Yes. So the main character in that, sister, who the lore is mostly about. What is her name? Why am I blanking her name?
Psyche.
Psyche, thank you. I kept wanting to say Cersei, and I'm like, that's not right.
Oh, yeah, she had to count.
Yes, didn't Psyche have to count like lentils out of... Yeah, and I think that's somewhere else in some other lore.
Oh.
And I know it's actually in the ACOTAR books. At one point, one of the characters has to pick a bunch of seeds out of a pile of ashes. So I feel like that keeps recurring as...
Right.
But it's usually like, I usually have seen it as the heroine having to do that as a trial. Whereas this is trying to keep the baddies away, and more of like a compulsion.
Right, and because
weird.
it's the idea that it would keep them occupied until dawn when they have to be back in their like physical skin.
Huh.
Yeah.
God, it sounds like trying to entertain a toddler till bedtime.
Oh, dear.
Well,
Maybe
Here's some sensory play. Let's work on counting. Oh no, it's bedtime.
You're being so helpful. What a good helper.
Yeah. Oh, weird. Anyway.
But if the skin of a Loogaroo is found, so not their sulfurous ball, but the skin that they left behind, people would sprinkle salt, and that would force a creature to cry out. And when dawn approaches, it will be visible to all.
Oh.
As this creature. Yeah. And if it's injured in shapeshift form, which I don't know how you injure a sulfurous ball, but it shows on the skin when they return to their human appearance.
We kind of had one, you covered something like this in an early episode, didn't you?
Yeah.
With the cats?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, that tends to be the thing that tells them that, oh, you're shapeshifting, but you still have the injury from your past.
Interesting. I think it's odd, too, that in both of those, they astral projected or they like left a body behind,
right?
Versus like, which you should cover, Hotel Transylvania, where they just whoosh and then they're a bat, you know?
Yeah.
We should cover that and do a movie night.
Yeah.
You don't want to?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I'm just saying you had a lot of fun with Count Chocula.
He was fun. He was a good time.
It was a good time.
I just also enjoy the macabre.
Well, that's fair. And I'm like, give me the cartoon bats. They're so cute.
They're so happy. This is not sad.
Yeah,
this is not gross.
Oh my gosh. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a really cool one.
Yeah.
Little housekeeping before I jump in, if that's okay. Unless you have anything else.
Nope. Go for it.
Okay, little housekeeping. First off, if you haven't already followed us on Instagram, you can find us at Vamps and Mers. You can also email us, Vamps and Mers, with the and spelled out.
Yeah.
So Vamps, A-N-D, Mers, @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Feel free to message us on Instagram or shoot us an email if there's anything you want to correct us on, cover, any of the works, let us know. Also exciting news is that Michael, Risha's brother, has agreed to come on and do an episode with us.
I'm so excited.
So we stay tuned. We'll try and keep posted on our Instagram about that. He has several podcasts.
Yes, he does.
None talking about this topic, though.
No, he's actually barred from talking about vampires in one of the podcasts that he's
Yes, and that is Michael and Ethan in a room with Scotch. He actually can't say the word vampire.
Yep, because he talks about it too much.
Yes, which was fun because we went on and talked about Salem's Lot, which has certain things that he could not talk about involved. What's his other one? Pokemon Rollout?
Pokemon Rollout's one. Yep. There's also the Freddy the Pig is one of the ones.
I did not know about that one.
He's the historian on that one.
Okay. He has several.
Well, Shakespeare in the Village we did last year, so we'll see if that's something that continues in the future. Probably not, but we'll see.
But we're excited to have him.
Yes.
He'll be bringing his expertise of being a pastor onto the show. So we're excited about that because he's going to be talking a little bit more about Christianity and vampires. Yeah. Sort of.
Yeah. The connection of Jesus and vampires and Christianity and transmutation, transfiguration.
I am super excited about that because I also adore Michael. He is so sweet and he's so knowledgeable without being like condescending about it, which I really appreciate. And I know that even though he is a pastor, he's not going to make me feel like I'm going to hell for making some weird jokes.
He is good at that.
He is good at that. I can cut that out if that makes him feel uncomfortable.
Oh, he's fine.
Okay, good. Yay, Michael. I believe it was also one of your other brothers was wondering if Selkies and Kelpies were related.
Yes, that was Nick.
Hi, Nick. I thought I'd just let you know here that I'm guessing they are. We talk a little bit about that in the Harry Potter episode. There being different types of mer creatures in Scotland that are sort of related. Also, kind of anything under the mermaid umbrella probably would be related in some way, but oddly enough, there's not a family tree for mythical beings. So
Yet. You got to make one.
Maybe we should make this project. Nick, I will happily take your recommendations and let you take a look if we make a family tree of mythological mermaids, because I'd be super down for that.
Let's go.
We can do like the whole classification. Scientific classification would probably be better than a family tree, I guess. So.
Yeah. Oh, you do.
I do have housekeeping. This happened a while ago, but we went through several episodes in our bank. Shout out to my wonderful, wonderful friend April, who is one of our consistent listeners. She surprised me by sending me a copy of Alice Hoffman's Aquamarine and Indigo, because it turns out they're actually more young adult, like kid chapter book.
Aww.
Yeah, so it's like super short books, and so it's 2 stories in one book, and she sent me a copy.
That's sweet.
It was the sweetest surprise ever. So thank you, April, and I will totally be covering both of those. I don't know how much I'll get into them because I don't know how long they are. I haven't read them yet. So I'll be covering that in a couple of episodes probably. So just that's my fair warning, is if you don't want that spoiled for you,
sure,
go pick up a copy of the book.
I do have a thing I want to say about your book corner.
Book corner.
Because I recently just started listening to another podcast that covered The Siren in their second episode.
I know. I need to go listen to that.
You should listen to it because they have very different opinions.
Oh,
than
no.
you do.
Did they love it?
Yes.
Oh, God. Did they like the relationship?
Yes.
Fuck. God, never mind. I don't know if I can do it now. Maybe I'll just get drunk and listen to No, and that's the cool thing about books, right? Is that everyone has different opinions, everyone has different past experiences and interprets things differently. So no, that is cool. Right. I'm not trying to like discredit them at all. Yeah. I'm so glad they enjoyed it.
The thing they did agree upon that I think you'll appreciate is the world building of the ocean was really interesting.
Yes.
So
yes,
they talk about that.
I had a really positive impression of the book. I just had a very negative impression of the romantic relationship.
And they hate amnesia, so there was that too.
Oh, okay, good. Good. I'm glad, because that just...
Uh-huh.
I just wish a boy would do the jitterbug with me. Okay, sorry. Anyway, thank you for my housekeeping. I was like, don't forget the housekeeping stuff.
Tell me about a mermaid.
Okay, I will.
Or 2 or 4.
Well, right now I just have 1.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just 1. And I found out about this mermaid from someone who I follow and have followed on TikTok since before we did the podcast, who I adore. Her name is Piper CJ, and that's her username, PIPERCJ. And she actually has a master's in folklore. Oh, she's so freaking cool. She's a total badass, and she talks about any type of folklore, really. Fairies, mer people, all kinds of stuff. And I was just scrolling TikTok the other day, and one popped up that was someone... I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of a little script moment of like someone, oh my God, I love mermaids. They're so pretty. And she's like, oh, really? Do you know about? And then started rattling off these different names of like scary mermaids.
Cool.
Yeah. So I wrote a bunch of those down. Very excited about that.
So excited.
I will add a picture to our Instagram because I screenshotted it because it had some really cool artwork. And I wanted to try and find that artwork and use it for our Instagram post. And I can't find it anywhere. So anyway, like you said, pronunciation apologies in advance, because this mermaid is Brazilian and some of the stories are in Portuguese. Her name has several different spellings. Most of what I saw spells it Iara, but I kept seeing it pronounced Iara with the rolling of the R. I can't roll my R that consistently though, so I'm probably just gonna call her Iara.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sorry, but I just don't. I feel like it's better for me to just try and be within my own scope of skills than butcher it worse. But go look up the correct pronunciation if you're interested in that, because I'm probably not the best resource. I am not the best resource for the pronunciation. But this is about Iara, who is Brazilian mythology for kind of mermaids. She has a very typical mermaid. Why can I not think of words? She looks like
physique?
She's a very typical mermaid physique later in the story. The half fish, half very attractive woman, long flowing hair, again, ridiculously attractive. But that's not how our story starts out. So our story starts out with Iara being a beautiful young woman in a Brazilian patriarchal tribe. And instead of kind of falling into the typical female roles in this tribe, she is a total badass and turns out to be super talented in warfare. It didn't go on to explain that or elaborate on that anywhere. It just said she was really cool and good at warfare and battling. So I don't know if that meant she went into battle or if it was more strategy. But she was the only daughter, and it made all of her brothers very, very jealous because she quickly became her father's favorite. And again, patriarchal society long, long ago, because this is like 15th, 16th century that we're talking here. So not good when brothers feel threatened. So then there are kind of 2 variations to this story. The one story that I saw a little bit less of is that her brothers became so jealous that they set out to murder her, succeeded, and then tossed her body in the Amazon River. Yeah. The second variation of the story is that I like a little better, but is still really sad, is that her brothers decided to murder her again, set out to kill her, but she defended herself and killed all of them.
Oh, dang.
Some said in self-defense, yes. Some said accidentally in self-defense. Some said on purpose.
She was so good at war.
Right. A couple people said that she just said, like, it wasn't in self-defense. She just beat them to the punch, basically. So I don't really know. But all of those versions of the story, though, her father was very upset because even though she's the favorite, she killed all of his other children.
All of his heirs.
Right. And then her father drowned her in the Amazon as punishment.
So in any case, she's just getting drowned.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yes. And then thrown in or drowned in the Amazon. Very upsetting. But luckily we had some helpful fish, or the full moon, depending on the story, who came around and saved her. And they decided not to let her die and transformed her into a mermaid. Again, very classic mermaid features. But depending on, and I'll get a little bit into this later, depending on the story, she might have had long flowing brown hair, very tan skin, classic Brazilian features. Some stories she had long green hair. Some stories she's very pale, blonde, blue-eyed.
That seems revisionist.
Yes. And we'll get into that a titch more at the end, but yes. So anyway, she turned into this gorgeous mermaid. She was already a beautiful person, but now she has, fish tail and is just kind of swimming around the Amazon and decides to take revenge on men. Because at the end of the day, all of her brothers tried to kill her, whether or not they succeeded. And then her father also killed her. So really, she has no positive male figures in her life. So she decides to start seducing men, dragging them into the river and drowning them. So that's why I really liked the art piece I showed Risha that I will add onto our Instagram that also shouts out Piper CJ because it's the piece of art she used. It shows this beautiful woman, leaning out of the water, talking to this man who's obviously enthralled, but under the water surface is all these skulls. Yeah. And it's really creepy, but it's really cool.
Well, even her body was
yes,
skeletal.
And under the water, or the body is skeletal, which is not anything I've seen researching the story, but the artwork's that's freaking cool. It's very symbolic, I think. So this, little fun vampire-ish part. Woo! So some men did survive trying to be drowned by her. Not sure how, but the ones who did survive ended up going absolutely crazy or having bite marks on their neck. Like permanent little bite marks. Ooh. Now, it doesn't say anything about her sucking blood or anything, but I thought that was a little...
And they went crazy?
And they went crazy. Just went absolutely mad until the end of their days. Yes. So I thought that was kind of fun. A little bit of backstory, though, into the myth. Iara was not Iara until about the 18th century. So in the 16th, 17th century, again, I'm sorry about my pronunciation, Iara was the water monster of the time. Now, Iara eventually earned the title Mother of the Water, but Iara was known as the Devil of the Water. And he was very similarly a large water monster. Well, he was a large water monster that also lived in the Amazon, but he was just vicious. He consistently would kill just villagers and people who lived in the area for really no reason other than wandering into his area. Women, children, all the works. He'd just kill anybody, and he would do it by, one source said viciously hugging them, but it was basically constricting them.
Right.
And then dragging their bodies into the water. Often these bodies would show up and they wouldn't really be mutilated at all, except for Iara would eat the eyes, nose, fingers, and sometimes genitals.
Ew.
Yeah, pretty gross. So why is it then about the 18th century, Iara went from this huge, terrifying water beast, which he does kind of represent a mermaid. He's the lower body fishtail, but the top part is just straight demon. Ooh. Yeah, real creepy. And I'll put a picture of that on our Instagram too. But yeah, definitely not attractive at all. The seduction part's not there. So why did that suddenly turn into Iara, who's this beautiful betrayed woman seducing men? So it was likely because of the influence that happened in the 18th century when slaves from Africa were being transported to different areas of the world. And Europeans were also traveling and colonizing a lot more. So you had kind of the combination of these Brazilian legends, like Iara, combined with Africans being brought out of their homeland, not allowed to do anything with their own religion, that wasn't allowed, so they kind of merged their religion with some of the pre-existing lore of the area. And then you had Europeans who wanted everything to be white and seducing. So that's sorry, but listen, look what we did to Pocahontas. So that's kind of also, sorry, the Pocahontas reference is just to Disney. That's not the actual Pocahontas, just the way she's portrayed in the media. Anyway, so that's likely why, and kind of that especially the 19th century, but even the 18th century, there was that transition from large water beast to suddenly these beautiful mermaids that represent or kind of look a lot like mermaids from other parts of the world too. So I thought that was kind of interesting because we haven't talked about how the moving collide. And the hybridization of religions and myths kind of were forced to happen almost.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really interesting. So that's why when I mentioned earlier about her being white, there's specifically even a poem that depicts her as like blonde with green in her hair, blue or green eyes, and very pale. And sure enough, that's a European author. So which, see it how you want to see it, I guess. But let's stop whitewashing culture. Anyway, a little bit of a fun fact before I end, because that's pretty much all I have, is in, this is kind of a fun one, in 2021 DC Comics Wonder Girl, which stars the future Brazilian Wonder Woman Iara Flora, which is Yara. Iara is depicted as a great warrior who transforms to protect the sacred waters. So she is actually a character in the Wonder Girl comics. I thought was kind of interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. I did see a few legends too. They weren't as common about Iara taking a lover, falling in love with a tribesman, turning him into a mermaid too, and them living relatively happily ever after.
And then they kill people together.
Yeah, I don't know if that stopped or not. But then there are also legends too about her just falling in love, but she was immortal and her lovers were not. And so that just kind of kept being a vicious cycle. So I don't really know what happened to her. Ipupiara, again, I'm sure that's not the right pronunciation, but it's Ipupiara. So he is described as being thrust with a sword up through the torso and then drug on shore and dried out. And that was his demise. But yeah, it's not really a fun ending for either of those.
No.
I took on the sad.
That was cool though.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And like I said, I'll post a lot of that artwork, so I definitely recommend, if you don't already follow us on Instagram, just go check it out, at least for kind of some of the little sub pieces that go along with this. So stay thirsty and keep wet.
Cover your necks and watch your tails.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
TapestryRadio.org.
From our fancy to yours.